My email planned for my husband to abandon me and our twins. Then he saw us on TV. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved one. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. MP. He held our twins in the hospital, kissed me on the forehead, and promised we'd figure everything out together. I believed him. We had been married for 2 years. We had planned for the babies. We decorated the nursery together. We talked about names. It felt real. But 3 days after we came home from the hospital, he was gone. No note. No goodbye. Just vanished. I called, I texted, I begged. Nothing. His number was blocked. His social media accounts were deleted. His family refused to answer me. It was like he had never existed. I cried every night holding 2 newborns. I couldn't afford rent, couldn't go back to work yet. I didn't understand what had happened. Was it me? Did I do something wrong? I blamed myself. My parents helped when they could, but I felt completely alone. Until one day, a mutual friend from college reached out. She had something to show me. It was a screenshot, a text from my mother-in-law. She sent it to my husband a week before the twins were born. It said, "You don't even know if they're yours. Get out while you can. She trapped you." My hands shook. It all made sense. She never liked me. She smiled to my face but called me trouble behind my back. I guess she finally got what she wanted. I felt sick but also angry. I wasn't going to let that be the end. Months passed. I got a part-time job, started a routine. I began healing. Then one morning, I took the twins to a local park. There was a small news crew doing a feel-good segment about young mothers. They asked if I wanted to be interviewed. I agreed. I shared my story, lightly, not all the ugly details. They filmed us laughing, the babies crawling on the blanket. The clip aired on the evening news. I didn't think much of it until I got a message from him. He had seen the segment, said he cried, said he missed us, said he made a mistake. He told me he was sorry, that he'd been lied to, that his mother poisoned his mind. He begged for another chance. I stared at the screen for a long time. This was the man who abandoned us, who disappeared without a word. But now, I wasn't that same woman anymore. I had done everything on my own. I didn't need him, so I didn't respond. I just smiled, held my babies close, and moved on. He ghosted us the week after our baby was born. One day, he was holding our daughter, saying how proud he was, and the next, gone. No explanation, no goodbye. I messaged him over and over. Nothing. He blocked me everywhere. His mom answered once. She said, "You should have never tricked my son into this. He's not falling for your games anymore." I didn't understand. We had planned this baby. We were in love. Or at least, I thought we were. Then I found out the truth. She faked a paternity test, used some online kit, and sent it to him, saying our daughter wasn't his. And he believed it. Just like that, he was gone, and I was alone, with a newborn and no home. I lost our apartment because his name was on the lease, and I couldn't cover the rent alone. With no family nearby, I ended up in a women's shelter. I struggled through postpartum depression. There were nights I couldn't stop crying, and mornings where I had to pretend I was strong for my baby. The shelter gave me food, diapers, and most importantly, hope. Months passed. I found a part-time job and started saving. Slowly, I rebuilt. One day, a reporter visited the shelter to do a piece on single moms starting over. They asked if I wanted to be interviewed. I hesitated but agreed. I spoke about resilience, not pain. I talked about how I wanted to give my daughter a better life. They filmed us in the little library room, my daughter laughing in my lap. It aired on Channel 5 during a Friday evening special. I had no idea how many people would see it. He did. He messaged me, said he watched it 3 times, said he knew now that his mother lied, that she admitted the test was fake, that he made the worst mistake of his life. He said I looked strong, beautiful, happy, and he wanted to be part of our lives again. But I had changed. I was no longer the woman who waited for him to come back. I had found strength in places I never knew I had. I had rebuilt my life from the ground up, with my daughter in my arms and no one else to lean on. So I didn't respond, not out of anger, but out of peace. My daughter and I had survived the storm. And now, we were shining in our own light. No room left for betrayal. My husband left me and our newborn twins 5 weeks after they were born. He said he needed space to think. At first, I believed him. I thought maybe he was overwhelmed, maybe he needed time. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just that. It was her, his mother. She had been planting seeds for years. Tiny comments, always with a smile. "He's working too much now, ever since he met you." Or, "Are you sure twins were natural? You didn't take anything, right?" I laughed it off at first. Thought she was just overprotective. But slowly, her words built a wall between us. Flashbacks played in my mind like scenes from a movie. The time she said, he could have gone to grad school if he didn't settle down so fast. Or when she told him, "You had a life before this. Remember that." I remembered the look in his eyes after those conversations. Doubt. Distance. And then one morning he was gone. Left a short note. I'm sorry. I need space. Please don't contact me. I was alone with 2 infants. No sleep, no help, and a heart full of betrayal. Months passed. I adjusted because I had to. I wore both baby carriers at once, fed them on rotation, and pushed their stroller uphill in the snow. I didn't have time to fall apart. Then came the street festival. I was juggling diaper bags, snacks, and 2 tired babies when a stranger with a camera asked to take my photo. You're doing amazing, he said. I smiled barely. He posted it with the caption, Supermom energy, no cape needed. It blew up overnight. Thousands of shares. People calling me inspiring, strong, unstoppable. I became a meme. Hashtag Supermom started trending. Then the comments came, recognizing him. Wait, isn't that his name? SX? The one he ditched. Screenshots of his old posts surfaced. People dragged him hard. Dude left this woman and these adorable twins? He tried messaging me a few days later. Said he saw the post. That he was sorry. That his mom had gotten in his head. That he wanted to talk. But I was done. I didn't need him. Not after carrying 2 babies, a household, and my broken heart all by myself. The world had seen my strength, but more importantly, I had. So I posted my own update with the same photo. He left because I ruined his life. Guess I'm just getting started. No more waiting. No more wishing. I was moving forward, faster than ever. She never liked me. From the day we got engaged, his mother looked at me like I had stolen something, but I stayed quiet, hoping she would come around. She didn't. When I got pregnant, she barely said a word. At the hospital, she showed up late and didn't even hold our baby. A week later, everything fell apart. He came home one night looking pale. Said his mom was sick, serious illness, maybe cancer. She needed him, he said. She didn't want to be alone. He asked me to understand, said he'd just stay with her for a while. I didn't argue. I told him to go take care of her, but he never came back. Days turned into weeks. Calls went unanswered. My messages were left on read. Finally, I asked a mutual friend. She said his mom was fine, completely healthy. No illness. Nothing. She lied to make him leave. I was heartbroken. Alone with a newborn, barely holding it together. I cried every night. I blamed myself. But I also knew I had to do something, not just for me, but for my daughter. I reached out to a local women's support center. They asked if I would share my story for an upcoming campaign on emotional manipulation and abandonment. I said yes. We filmed in my tiny apartment. I spoke honestly about the lies, the silence, and the pain of raising a child without support. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. The video aired as part of a series for Domestic Abuse Awareness Week. I didn't expect much, but people connected with it. It spread across social media. Thousands of views, comments full of support. People saying, I've been there. You're so brave. Thank you for speaking up. Then I heard from him. He said he saw the video. That his mom finally admitted she made it all up. That she was jealous and didn't want to lose him. He told me he regretted everything. That he wanted to come back. That we could be a family again. But it was too late. I had already survived the storm. I had already found strength without him. My story helped others. My truth mattered. And now, everyone knew what he did, because he chose her lies over our future. I told him, gently, that the door was closed. Not out of hate, but because I had finally found peace. And I wasn't giving it up for anyone. It started just days after I gave birth. I was still sore, sleep-deprived, and learning how to be a mom. That's when the letters came. Thick envelopes marked urgent. Legal-looking documents with fake law firm names and warnings that I had no right to stay in the house. That I could be sued for squatting. That I'd better leave immediately or face charges. They were terrifying. My husband wasn't around much. He said he needed time to process everything. But when I showed him the letters, he just said, maybe it's better if you go for now. I didn't know it then, but the letters were fake. All sent by his mom. She wanted me gone, and she knew how to make it happen. She told him I was trying to take everything from him, that I was turning the baby against him. He believed her. So I packed my things. I moved in with my cousin and her 2 dogs. The baby cried nonstop. I cried too. I didn't know what else to do, so one night I started writing. I called the blog Sleepless and Screwed. I wrote about the baby, about betrayal, about feeling powerless and angry, and still getting up every day to change diapers and wipe tears. A week later, one of my posts got shared. Then another. People were messaging me. Your story feels like mine. You're saying what I couldn't say. Comments poured in. The blog was everywhere. My inbox exploded. Then came an email from a morning show producer. They wanted me to tell my story. On national TV. I almost said no, but something inside me whispered, do it. The day I went on air, I was shaking. But once the cameras rolled, the nerves disappeared. I told the truth. Not to shame anyone, but to speak for the moms who don't get heard. The interview went viral within hours. That same afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. It was him. He stood there holding flowers, looking pale and nervous. He said he had no idea the letters were fake, that his mom confessed everything when she saw the TV segment, that he was sorry, that he wanted to talk to fix things. I didn't even open the screen door. I just looked at him and said, "You let her scare me out of my own home. You believed lies instead of your wife. But thanks to you, I found my voice, and the world heard me. Goodbye." Then I shut the door. Gently, like a period at the end of a sentence, I finally got to write. He told me family came first. I thought he meant me and our daughter. I was wrong. It happened quietly. No yelling, no argument. Just a folded note left on the kitchen counter while I was giving our baby a bath. It read, "You were a phase. I'm going home." That was it. No explanation, no goodbye. I called, texted, begged for him to explain. Silence. Then his mother answered one of my calls and said it plain. He chose blood. Not some gold digger who trapped him with a baby. We had been married 2 years. We planned this life. But according to her, I was just a stepping stone, something disposable, and he believed her. I cried for days. Then I got mad. With nothing but a baby on my hip and a handful of cheap ingredients in my fridge, I started cooking again, something I hadn't done in months. It calmed me, gave me something to focus on. I began experimenting with recipes, making freezer meals for other single moms I met at the local support center. One of them suggested I start selling them, so I did. I called it Mom's Freezer Magic. It started with 10 orders a week, then 50. I built a little website, posted photos, and shared my story. Not the whole mess, just the parts about rebuilding. People connected with it. Orders exploded. Soon, a local TV station called. They were doing a segment on homegrown businesses and asked if I'd come on their cooking show. That day, I stood in a TV studio, baby on one side, a pan of baked ziti on the other. I smiled at the camera and shared the recipe that helped me get back on my feet. The episode aired that night. He saw it. The next morning, he showed up at my front door holding flowers and wearing regret all over his face. He said he didn't know what he'd lost, that his mother had convinced him I only wanted his money, that she finally admitted she'd lied, that he wanted to make things right. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You walked out on a family you helped create." I didn't stop walking, and now I've built something better. Then I handed him a frozen lasagna. It's our bestseller. It's called Revenge is Served Cold. Enjoy it. Alone. I closed the door and went back to work. I had a business to run, a daughter to raise, and a life that no one was ever going to walk out on again. She started the lies slowly. A whispered comment here, a suspicious glance there. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but over time it got worse. My mother-in-law told my husband I was using drugs, that I was stealing from their accounts, that I had been cheating the whole time we were together. None of it was true. He believed her. I begged him to talk to me, to see the truth, but she had already poisoned his mind. He stopped coming home. Then his whole family cut me off. No one returned my calls. At family events, I was accidentally left out. Suddenly, I was the villain in a story she had written. Eventually, he left. No explanation, no chance to defend myself. Just packed his things and disappeared from our life. I stayed in the same small apartment, just me and our son. I tried to keep going. I got a job at a nearby coffee shop. I didn't talk much to anyone except the neighbor across the hall, a quiet older woman named Grace who always brought over cookies and asked about my day. One night, I broke down and told her everything. All the lies, all the silence. She listened, then said, "That story needs to be told." Grace had been a filmmaker years ago. She dusted off her camera and asked if I'd let her record me. I agreed. It felt strange at first, talking to a lens, but something about it felt freeing. She put the footage together into a short film called Buried Truths. It was quiet, raw, and honest. She submitted it to a local film festival. It got accepted, then nominated, then shared. My face was suddenly on the screen in front of hundreds. I talked about how rumors can ruin a person's life, how being falsely accused can be worse than being forgotten. People clapped, some cried, and then he saw it. I got a message from him the day after the screening. He said he had no idea how deep it all went, that his mother admitted to making it all up because she never liked me and wanted better for me. He was devastated. He wanted to meet, to talk, to fix things. I sent him a link to the documentary. I told him, watch it all the way through. Don't message me until you see the credits. Because right there, at the very end, just before the screen fades to black, it reads, "To the ones who tried to erase me, you made me unforgettable." I never heard from him again. And honestly, I didn't need to. When I told him we were having twins, he went silent. Not in a happy, overwhelmed way, more like scared. His mom didn't even try to hide her reaction. "You trapped him," she said, like I'd plotted the whole thing. "We were married. We had talked about having kids, but the moment twins came into the picture, she started twisting everything. Whispered doubts into his ear. You're too young. She just wants your money. This isn't the life you wanted. One morning, I woke up to a quiet house. His clothes were gone. So was his car. No note, no goodbye. I called his mother. She answered with a smug tone and said, he's where he belongs now. With family. He left me with 2 newborns and a storm of bills. I cried in the shower, in the kitchen, on the floor. But in front of the babies, I stayed strong. They didn't need to see my heartbreak. They needed love, milk, and lullaby. Weeks later, I heard about a parenting competition hosted by a popular daytime talk show. America's Supermom, they called it. I almost didn't enter, but a friend convinced me. She said, you already won. Let them see it. I sent in a video, me making bottles one-handed, folding laundry with a baby on my hip, and smiling through sleepless nights. I talked about being left, but I didn't make it a sob story. I made it a survival story. I got the call. I was a finalist. They flew me to New York. I stood on stage with other amazing moms. We laughed, shared, and cried together. When the host called my name as the winner, I could barely stand. She handed me the microphone and said, what would you like to say to the world? I looked at the camera and said, he said I trapped him with twins. But I didn't trap anyone. I gave life to 2 beautiful souls. He ran away from responsibility. I ran toward it. I'm not a single mom. I'm a superhero. The crowd stood up, clapping, cheering. The final shot of the show was him, sitting in a bar, eyes glued to the screen, face pale. He was watching me shine, while holding a beer and all his regret. He never called, never wrote. But I didn't need him to, because I wasn't trapped. He was. Trapped in his cowardice, his guilt, and a house ruled by a bitter woman who couldn't see a good thing if it raised 2 babies and stood on national TV. And me? I kept flying. Cape or no cape. She called him crying, said the tests were bad. It's cancer, she whispered. I don't have much time left. I watched him go pale. My husband, the man who held me through labor just 6 months before, looked like a scared little boy. That same night, he packed a bag. I have to go, he said. She needs me. I owe her everything. I begged him to stay. Reminded him we had a baby who needed both parents. But his mind was already made up. He kissed our daughter on the head and walked out the door. Days turned into weeks. When I called, he didn't answer. When I asked if I could visit, she said coldly, he's taking care of his real family now. A month later, I found out the truth. She wasn't dying. No cancer. No treatment. Nothing. She lied. She said she needed him, wanted him away from me, that I had stolen her son, and turned him into someone she didn't recognize. The truth broke me, but I wasn't going to let it end there. I started talking. Into a mic late at night, during nap time, whenever I had a moment to myself. I called the podcast Left Holding Everything. I spoke about lies, motherhood, and healing from emotional betrayal. At first, just a few listeners tuned in. Then thousands. Then millions. A major podcast network reached out. They wanted to feature me, help me reach even more people. I agreed. The episode where I revealed the lie, the fake diagnosis, the abandonment, went viral. People were furious. Women wrote in, saying it happened to them too. News outlets picked it up. Bloggers wrote articles. And one morning, I opened my email to a book offer. Then the TV show came. A live segment on women turning pain into power. They asked me to share my journey. I stood under the studio lights, camera rolling, and said, she faked cancer to steal my husband. But she didn't get my spirit. I kept going. I built something. I found my voice. They showed a photo of me and my daughter smiling in our little kitchen. Somewhere in a living room across town, my mother-in-law sat in silence while the internet tore her apart. #MILFromHell started trending. And my ex? He tried calling. Left a message saying he didn't know what was real anymore. I didn't call back. I had a show to prep, a manuscript to finish, and a daughter to raise. They tried to take everything. But I spoke. And now the world listens. She always looked at me like I didn't belong. Smiled to my face but whispered behind my back. She's using you, she told him. She only wants a safe life, not you. He denied it at first, but I could see the shift. Less eye contact, more distance, longer silences. Still, I didn't expect him to leave. Especially not the night before the twins' first birthday. He packed a small bag and said, I need to figure things out. Maybe my mom was right. I stood there holding tiny party hats and a cake mix, too stunned to speak. He walked out. No hug for the babies. No apology. I cried that night. I let myself fall apart. But when the sun rose, I made a choice. I wouldn't let his doubt define me. I would make something from the ashes. I started small. I joined a local moms group, volunteered at the food bank. That's when I learned how many women in our city were struggling. I decided to do something about it. I created a fundraiser, part birthday celebration, part donation drive. I called it Rebuild and Rise. People showed up, not just for me, but for each other. We shared food, toys, diapers, and laughter. I gave a short speech near the end. I didn't plan it. I just spoke from the heart. We were told we needed rescuing, I said, holding my twins. But we don't. We build from the ruins. Together. Someone recorded it and posted the video. Overnight, it spread. Local news picked it up. Then a statewide network shared it. Comments poured in. This is what strength looks like. I needed to hear this today. 2 weeks later, he came back. He stood on the porch, looking like a man who'd just realized what he'd thrown away. He said he saw the video, that he made a mistake, that his mom admitted she'd lied to push me out. He looked around at the place we once called home and asked if he could come inside. I told him he didn't live here anymore. The lease was now in my name. His name had been removed the same week he walked out. He looked shocked, but I wasn't angry. I had already moved on. I had found strength, purpose, and a community that lifted me when he let go. She said I was using him, but I turned her plan into the beginning of everything. My story didn't end when he left. It started.